Okay, hello everybody. I hope uh, that some people will turn up for this live stream in a timely fashion. I'm dressed the way I am because I had just came out of my dance class, my pole dancing class, and I saw that there was enough of a break in the clouds that we might be able to see some interesting objects. So um, let's do that. This video that I'm making right now will eventually be cut with a video I'll probably have to make on tomorrow night, in order to have a record of what was used for this particular session. Let me change the scene real quick. So that's the view through my little dedicated webcam there. As we may be able to see through here, now we can see there's already cloud moving in front of Jupiter. So the very viewing opportunity that prompted me to email you all may have vanished already. But still, let's go ahead and take this opportunity to review what the telescope is made of. This way, it'll be faster when I'm going over it tomorrow. I'll just be able to go ahead and dive right into it. And I've got YouTube telling me you need to change the video resolution. The current resolution is 3840 by 2160, which is not supported for this configuration. So I guess my so-called 4K webcam can't handle it. Okay. So let's see if that message goes away. If I... Okay. Now it's working again. So it must be that my webcam is not quite up to the challenge of doing 4K, but my phone camera is. Okay, so let's just review what the telescope itself is made of. So this is a Celestron 60 LCM computerized telescope. Let's take a look at the actual hardware I've got. Because I equipped myself to take this out on trips and actually go to dark places or interesting places to do astronomy, like going to see the solar eclipse that was several years ago now. I have heavy duty extension cord. Usually I just use this to take it to my backyard. I've got the computerized tripod here. Let me set this up. Take a look at it. Okay. So we've got this computer, which is in here, and this is the hand control for it, connected to this GPS unit, which was like about $100 extra for it. So it can know exactly where in the world it is, because that matters. Then we have the actual telescope itself. So 60 refers to the aperture size. It is a 60 millimeter refracting telescope. So that's the size of the lens in there. Let me see if I can find an angle where this will just stand up for me. Okay. Stay. When it comes time to set up the telescope, what I'm going to do is actually set it up with this facing this way. There's a little thumb screw right here, and I attach it like so. And make sure it's holding tight. We don't want it wobbling around. Feels like maybe I don't have that in there quite right. Yeah. Maybe a little more like this. The reason I'm sliding it up that way is because it's going to have to point more or less straight up to look at Jupiter at this point. Now what I'm going to want to do eventually is I'm going to want to use this level right here. You can see it's got this bubble inside it. The viewfinder on the phone keeps turning itself. Anyway, here we go. And it's very sensitive. And it's very important that the telescope be level because the motors in it can keep it pointed at an object as the Earth rotates underneath it and moves things in our view. Let's take a look at some of the rest of the hardware there is to deal with. There's this object called a star angle. What this does is I put it in the eyepiece end here, removing the eyepiece cap. If you ever get a telescope, you always want to leave it capped off because critters will get in there and they will make their home. Now, before I attach this, what it is basically is it's just a mirror angled so that you can see at a 90-degree angle. And what it's going to do is allow me to have the telescope angled upward and still see without having to lay on the ground. We've got this device here. Eventually, I attach my phone here and eyepiece here. And what this does is it allows me to broadcast what I see through the phone on here. Though I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that webcam being unable to broadcast in 4K since it's advertised as being a 4K 30 FPS webcam. That's very disappointing. Now, this is an interesting thing that we're not going to use tonight. We're going to use this next week. This is a solar filter. And what this does is it allows me to point the telescope directly at the sun without frying it. We'll talk more about that when it comes time to talk about the sun. But you do not want to look directly at the sun without some sort of a filter like that. Predictably, we have a number of eyepieces. Each serves a different purpose. And various connections. Interestingly, and maybe I'll demonstrate this during this sort of impromptu live stream, is the motorized control on this telescope can connect to a computer, but it connects to the computer through a rather old-fashioned sort of port. So one end goes into the hand control, and the other end goes into this. This is an old-fashioned serial port, and in order to use it with my laptops and most modern computers, I had to buy this. This is a USB, Universal Serial Bus, to RS-232 serial adapter. And it's a little out of focus because it's not at the focus distance that the camera is optimizing for. Now, it turns out that my new computer here that I built just recently, this one actually had in its motherboard a header for a good old-fashioned serial port. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the serial port that is built into the computer. It's one less bit of wiring to deal with. So this is going to connect to this. This goes like this. And these old-fashioned ports here are things you had to literally screw together to get them really attached. Make sure they stayed attached. Okay. Don't have to worry about that anymore with newer computers. So there's my serial connector, and this will connect to the handset. So what else is there? What other apparatus are we going to need? Probably also going to use this surge strip to connect the telescope to my house wiring. Only because this whole setup costed, bought in pieces over time, around $500-ish. If this part and all of this were to get fried by a freak electrical discharge, a power surge, it would be a long time before I got another telescope. So I want to be careful with it. But basically, that's the apparatus. Now, let me go through with setting some of it up. So, including the computer, that's the apparatus. So now let me go through with the process of setting it up. So what am I going to need to do? To show you what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to create another scene in OBS, call it desktop, and add the ability to capture a desktop window capture, imaging screen capture, okay, so now you will be able to see my screen. Let me get that off there. Okay. So what am I going to end up using? I'm going to end up using I'm going to end up using stellarium, actually. And you should be able to see what I'm looking at here. So Jupiter and Saturn, I'm pretty confident that the thing that we were looking at was Jupiter. I'm also going to look in to see if there is a plugin for this app that will allow it to have like real-time weather, like actual information about where the clouds are in it. It would make sense if it did. So I'm going to wind up using it and the telescope control button right here. And you can see it already has some kind of idea that a telescope could or should be connected to it. But before I can do that, I'm going to need to set up and align the telescope. And tonight, since we might not get to actually observe, it will probably be what's called a dummy alignment. So I'll just point it roughly towards Jupiter, and we'll see if we can actually see anything. Let me try putting camera right here. This seems to be our best view right here for this part. Okay, so how do I align the telescope? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to level it. So I'm going to look at that level down there, unlock the legs, unlock this, and I'm going to do my best to get it as level as humanly possible. And then lock it down. And the thing is, this can be so sensitive. Once you've got it in place, you don't want to move it. Try to start as high up as I can. Get just like this. Just get dead level, as level as I can, and then lock the legs. It's a little off, so I might have to try it one more time. The reason I unlock the telescope itself is because eventually I'm going to need to angle it towards the sky. It's actually almost where it needs to be right now. Now I'm going to the electrical power to it. And if I flip it on, also want to choose an eyepiece to put in here. So which eyepiece do I go with and why? What the eyepiece can do is it can give you a bit more zoom, for lack of a better word. And I've got two decent eyepieces. I've got this 25mm eyepiece and my somewhat thermally damaged, I don't know if you can really see it, 9mm eyepiece. It's been a little bit sacrificed to the sun. But I'm going to use a 25mm eyepiece just for getting an alignment. So there's a bit of a process for aligning the telescope. I don't have a tripod for my phone camera right now, so I have to try to do this one-handed. So it says, press enter to begin alignment. And I want to use a technique called solar system align. There's a couple of ones. 2 or 3 star alignment is better. Solar system alignment is easy. We wait for it to get GPS coordinates. And then we select what we want to use. And I'm going to use Jupiter, which is bright enough you can kind of even see it in the picture right there. And to make this really work, I'm going to turn off the light. Ideally, what I would have right now is one of those red lights that is used in an observatory. But this will have to do. The reason this particular color is chosen is because it doesn't interfere so much with seeing things. Turn on the finder scope. Probably also want to play with the focus a little bit. Now let me show you what I'm seeing through the finder scope. So you see these 2 lights that are in here? What you want to do, and you can even see Jupiter through this a little bit as well, what I want to do is I want to line both of those lights up with the object. Then it should be visible through the viewfinder. Stop turning off the screen, damn it. That's due to the phone trying to save battery power. I might even have a lock on Jupiter already. It's a bit fiddly. It's a bit fiddly. This is why you want to have a clear night, because it might not all happen in short order, and there's some definite clouds rolling in, but it's still in a clear spot. So you gotta keep trying. See if we can get some. Then maybe tomorrow we'll get a better picture. You might wonder why this can be so difficult, but getting a telescope lined up so it can stay locked on is a bit more of a challenge than just looking at the thing, especially with the clouds in the way. really in the way of Jupiter now. Still see it. Now I'm making smaller adjustments. It's kind of lined up in the viewfinder. To add to the frustration, if it wasn't so cloudy, pretty much any direction I'd point the telescope in, I would see stars. So that would be interesting. But between light pollution and clouds, it's not quite so wondrous. It's just kind of black or gray. If I could get a quick and dirty alignment, hasn't quite worked. What might help is I'm going to try focusing on a light source that's close in to here. There's a street lamp just out of the way here. Let's see. Go back to the beginning of the process. Okay, to accept. I'm going to see if I can get the telescope to focus at all. Maybe being severely out of focus is the reason I can't see anything even with the clouds there. So. Okay, it's at least got some initial focus on it. It might just be, oh, no, now they're moving, the clouds are moving away and we've got another good gap where maybe we can get some pictures of both Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, let's see. say that's Saturn over there. Jupiter over there. Let me try another technique where I don't really bother with the viewfinder so much, but just try to get the telescope itself to kind of block my view of Jupiter along it. So the light from Jupiter should be going somewhere into the bloody telescope. One more time. And it pop in and out on the edge of the viewfinder of the eyepiece. Come on. Come on, baby. Where are you? That is. Either that or it's reflection from something else. Looks like just another star twinkling in and out of momentary visibility. Think they got it? Not really. Trying to block out all the light for everything else. It definitely looks like the way it looks in this eyepiece. either Jupiter or that is a star. It's the first thing I've seen through this telescope tonight. Brightest thing I've seen through this telescope tonight, the brightest thing in the sky. So, odds are that is Jupiter. Press the align button, and now it's aligned. And now I connect it up to the phone, or to the computer. Uses the same sort of connector as an old-fashioned telephone on that end. And now let me see. I see a bright object and some nearby stars up there. And I see a bright object with some nearby stars in my viewfinder. Now let's see if I can get a view for you guys. Using this. So this adds yet another layer of complexity, because I have to somehow connect this thing to this bracket that holds it in a way that will allow it to go over the viewfinder without pressing the Bixby button. The annoying, stupid Bixby button. The worst invention ever on a Samsung phone. But they have some of the best optics of any phone. And I would include even the iPhone as being not quite as good, astronomically speaking. So what I do actually, so I want to get the eyepiece holder on it. Take this button down. And I'm going to try to line it up. Best I can. So we'll make sure it's still where I left it. just like that, either cloud is moved in the way or either cloud is moved in the way. Sorry for not having much of a view right now, but either cloud is moved in the way or in just that amount of time, rotation of the planet has moved it enough, so the alignment might not be so great. And I've lost it. Well, that's a shame. And with the clouds coming and going the way they are, Jupiter will be in, you can see Jupiter will be in a clear spot for a while. Yeah. But Saturn is about ready to be covered up by clouds that seem to go on forever. So I'm going to call it right now, but you seem to get the gist of what is going to happen on tomorrow. And this video will be cut into a video that will be embedded on Blackboard for the duration of this semester. Okay, thank you very much to anyone who joined me for the live stream. There were only a couple of you. And we'll do this again on tomorrow, okay? So let me stop recording, and that means using this